Hey there, and welcome to the Business of Business podcast. Here we are two daughters and their dad, seeking to inspire and educate you to follow your dreams of being in business by teaching you the business of being in business. The good, the bad, the humor are all parts of our unique perspective as an entrepreneurial family. Thanks for joining us. So grab a coffee, turn up the volume. Here we go. Hi, everybody. This is your host, Staci Joy Dempsey. The J is very important. It brings the joy. And I am here with my dad, Jack Dempsey, and my sister, Jennifer Dempsey. And the three of us make up the two daughters and a dad. So we'd like to welcome you back to our next episode. In our last episode, we talked about the why of starting a business. And so now that we know our why, let's talk about what the next step is. Where do we actually start? Where do we actually start? And that could be, where do we start in a business plan? Where do we start in money? What do we do next, Jack and Jennifer?
Well, I guess I'll talk about my experience and where I started. I knew that I was ready to start a business with or without help. So I had no idea where to start other than a business plan. And at the time, the apartment I lived in, I had no computer, no printer. I spent every day at the library looking up how do you write a business plan and just kind of filling in the blanks of what made sense to me. I found someone that kind of helped put you in the right direction of trying to find any loans to help start a business. And he gave me this great big packet of paper that made absolutely no sense to me. And that's when I felt defeated for the first time in trying to open a business. So I focused on the business plan. I think I went to each one of my siblings and had them read it and correct it and definitely spell check it. Remember, I'm a hairstylist. And then I finally went to my dad and begged him to read it once I felt like it was perfect. And my question to you was, now what do I do? Do you remember?
I do. I don't remember that you had to beg me to read it. I thought
You're
I was
a very busy man. I
well,
had
I was
to beg.
busy, yeah. I think I was pretty eager. No, I remember reading it and just being very impressed with the amount of time that you put into it, the thought that you put into putting it together. And then I think that's really what convinced me that you were serious about being in the business of doing hair. And so that's when I think our conversations really started to have an uptick of seriousness to them because of really what you did in that business plan. So it was very impressive. So
I decided to quit my 7-8 year salon job manager, and I decided to focus fully on starting my own business. And I recruited my clients. I was old school, doing people's hair in my apartment, just trying to bring any amount of income in to keep me afloat, and was dedicated my time to finding a place, finding the right location of where I could actually put a salon. And that was even a challenge. So I think what's important about this story is I never expected for you to say yes to go into business with me. I was fully prepared to take out any amount of money to start a business or the business that I wanted. That's how dedicated I was. I didn't care about what amount of debt it was going to take to make it happen. So when you offered for us to go into business together, obviously that was a dream come true, because I always looked at my dad, obviously, as my dad, but a mentor as well. And I think when you said we could go into business together and obviously gave me a long list of rules, that's when the pressure started. So the doors didn't even open yet, and the pressure was on, and it consumed my life to get this business up and running.
But it was good pressure, right?
It
was a healthy pressure.
It was healthy pressure, of course.
We call it healthy tension. There's always good to have tension. That's how we grow. So we'll call it healthy tension. How's that?
Healthy tension.
Healthy tension. Well, I want to go back to something you said because I think it's very important. Once you decided that you wanted to be in the business of hair, the first thing you had to do was quit the salon that you were working in and were doing very well at. Because if I recall, I think you had a 6-month non-compete that you had to wait out
right
before you could even do business. So again, big step. That was a step outside your comfort zone, and so that again caught my attention. That if you're willing to step away from something that clearly you were enjoying and being very successful at, that opened my eyes to the seriousness of your pursuit of being an entrepreneur. And then, as I said, when I read your business plan and how you spent the time, you gave it a lot of thought, you really put together an effective plan, I got thinking to myself, where's Jennifer going to go get money? Where's she going to get the money to start this business? Because clearly, you didn't have enough money in your savings account to do it. So we were going to have to go get money somewhere. And so when I started thinking about banks and other places, I knew probably no matter what, I was going to have to put my name onto something for you to get the money, which I was prepared to do. So then my business senses kicked in. I said, if I'm going to put my name to something, I might as well put my name to the business itself and not on a guarantor of a loan. And so I think then that's when I went to you and I said, Jen, you got two options. I can be an investor or I can be a partner. And I explained to you that being an investor was probably long-term better for you because you could pay me back, and a partnership was going to be better for me long-term. But I was going to give you the choice, and you chose
to be a partner. And I chose that because we've had this love of business together. And I think, my dad has been a mentor through my whole career from the beginning. I remember us driving to cosmetology schools to check them out. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
So I feel like you have always been involved in my career. And I think one thing that's super important is the day I quit the salon and I told my whole family that I was going to open a business, it was all positive reaction. Not one person in my family said anything negative. Everyone was so excited and ready to be a part of the journey, to help in any way that they can. And believe me, they did help a lot, still do. And I think that's important when you're starting a business. I think, the people that are closest to you, if they all have a negative reaction to what you're trying to do, then that's going to affect you. So making sure that the people that are closest to you are on the same team is crucial.
Well, there's no doubt. And so I think one of the things, Staci, that this story should teach those out there who are looking to become entrepreneurs and looking to raise some funds to get their business off the ground. If you are planning to go to family members or friends to invest, go with a plan. Don't go just relying on the friendship or relying on the bloodline of a family to, start that writing checks to put in your business. Treat it like a transaction. Treat it like a business transaction. Put the plan together. Give them some projections on the business. And I think if you do that, you're going to stand certainly a much better opportunity of having people invest in your business. But also, I think it's just going to position you to probably pay those investors back a lot sooner than maybe what everybody anticipated. But go with a plan, and that will definitely increase your odds of raising the necessary funding for your business through that avenue.
And so, Jennifer, just so everyone's clear, how long did it take you to complete your business plan? I mean, was it like a 3-day, let me go to the library, find a template and cut and paste? Or, what did you kind of really learn through that experience? And how long did it take you to put the actual plan together to the point that when you gave it to Dad, like not what we edited, not what we, as siblings, looked at, but how long did it take from when you started to then you gave it to Dad?
It's been a while now, so I can't remember exactly, but I started the business plan while I still was working. I knew the time was coming. I felt like it was coming. Like,
yeah.
This chapter is coming to a close, and I'm ready to start the next chapter. And so I want to say, 3 months of starting the business plan, meeting with different people. And then that day that I decided I wasn't coming back to the salon any longer, that was when the business plan got delivered. Like, okay, this is serious now. This is what we're going to focus on.
Right. So, with the business plan, obviously Jack talked about, potentially doing transactions with family members or friends and things like that. I mean, there's obviously other avenues if people don't have that, ability to, go to a family member. So would you say, as far as what are other avenues that people need, can go to get some money, get some capital to start their businesses, and keeping in mind that some businesses take more capital than others, right? I think hair salons is potentially up there with some of the most demanding upfront costs. If I remember your research, Jennifer, when we started going down this road, it's getting space, getting the product in there, getting like everything you have to kind of purchase up front before you can actually cut, color, shampoo, and blow dry someone's hair, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
we definitely needed some money to make it presentable, and I think I had to, talk to you, Dad, and tell you, like, I want this, to look a certain way and it to be, this expensive chandelier. And then we realized really quickly that, yes, we need it to be nice and beautiful and comfortable, but we also can't spend $100,000 on a salon. So there was definitely a happy medium. So yeah, how do you think we could have went about it in a different way if you didn't want to go into business with me, Dad?
Well, again, depends on the type of business, but certainly in your case, Jen, it would have been probably building a business plan, putting, some type of projections, and I think showing your track record, because you were probably going to have to go either through some type of small business loan or bank loan in order to get the upfront costs that you need to do the build out of the space, to buy the chairs, the mirrors, all the fixtures. So I think you would have had to really show kind of what kind of revenue you generated yourself up to that point. So as much as you can show the people who are looking to give you the financing that you are, solid and know what you're doing, the more likely you were to get some money. But it would have been tough. It would have been tough to probably, get it, all that you really needed. So Now, other types of businesses, sometimes you can start small. You can start smaller, where the upfront costs aren't, that onerous. You might even be able to do some businesses on the side while you're still keeping your job, so that you can experiment or test the waters to see if it's a legitimate way to build a business, have a business, and grow a business. But at the end of the day, you've got to have financials if you're going to raise money to, fund a business. So, like I said, it can be family members, it can be a bank, it can be the Small Business Administration, there can be specialty monies out there, grants for, I know I'm not that familiar with them, but certainly women in business, there seems to be some grant money, or was, for women starting businesses. Probably not particularly easy process to go through, would be my guess. But there's those kind of things, and again, it would depend a lot on your perseverance, your determination, the quality of your business plan, how things were thought out. Would be the most important aspect of trying to raise money. Now, there's other things out there too. Might even be able to do GoFundMe, out there. There might be a way
absolutely.
to raise some money that way, get your business funding, $5 at a time from people. So, get creative, I guess, is my point. There's a lot of room for creativity when you're starting up a business. So, don't be afraid to be creative in trying to raise the necessary funding to get your business started.
Yeah, and you mentioned, Jack, some people are still working kind of their 9 to 5 and doing their passion on the side just so they can kind of put a pinky toe in at a time and start small. And so I know I have a handful of clients that they just simply saved. They saved their money. They had their business plan was to really kind of start their business full force 5 years from now. And in that, so the business plan was, we're saving our money. We're going to live lean, as you mentioned in our last episode. And that's going to be the avenue that we go down. But that wasn't after a lot of research of, can I go get a loan, and what does that look like, and how soon can I, how do I pay it back, and just kind of working through all those, all those different avenues. But any links that we have of resources for our listeners about where to find capital and websites and things like that, we'll certainly link them below our podcast. So
I think another thing too, real quick, and Jennifer mentioned it earlier, just some of the sacrifices that she made, getting rid of an apartment, just really reducing her personal expenses down. There's, especially if you're going out there looking for funding from some of the traditional sources like banks, anything that you can show like that, where you have really reduced down your personal expenses to the bare bones, goes a long way to give them confidence, again, that you're serious about, building a business and having a successful business.
yeah, Jen, there's some rough years there. Because you
They're
talked
still
about
a
you had
little
to
rough.
move back in with mom, but what people don't realize is that you had lived on your own for 5 or 6 years at that point. You
Right.
had your own place, own car. Your whole own life going on, right? And then to really humble yourself to say, all right, hey, Mom, can I come back and live with you after really just being out there in the world and doing your own thing for so long? That was rough, because I remember I was there helping you move back in.
Oh yeah, it was definitely rough. But I think it goes back to what we talked about before. If your why is strong enough, those sacrifices don't seem like sacrifices, because it was all for the greater good. It was all for the greater purpose. I knew, not everybody has the opportunity to move back home. So, I took those sacrifices as really blessings that, again, my family supported me in the decisions that I was making, to be able to go back home. And that was that was my mom's way of supporting me, to say, you can come live here, until you get back on your feet. So,
Right. Good stuff. So any final thoughts before we wrap this episode up on where do I start? I guess the where do I start is start with a business plan. Go through that process thoroughly. Give it to people that have an invested interest in that plan being successful. And then go down the avenues of researching what kind of capital you need and what are those areas that you can go get that money to start your business. If I'm remembering this all correctly, right?
Well, you are, and I think what's important as time goes on, and as we talked, as you said in our last episode about a why, once you start thinking about your business in terms of scale and how large you want your business to get and how you want to grow your business, this continues to be talking about how to finance. It never really goes away because you determine how am I going to get the necessary funding to get my business started. Then you have a level of growth in your business, and then it becomes about now where do I get the funding to grow and to continue to grow, because you will plateau if you're not careful. There's a mathematical equation out there called the sigmoid curve, and basically the sigmoid curve says that when you start something like a new business, you're going to have a starting point, and then you're going to immediately have a dip in growth in your personal and business. Things are going to go down a little bit because the business is just getting off the ground. Then as the business starts to go up and grow, it's at what point in that growth now do I reinvest and start the sigmoid curve over again? Because if you don't make that investment during your growth stage, then your business will plateau. It'll turn on itself to where you can no longer grow because you didn't make the necessary investment during the growth stage. So that's what Jennifer and I are talking about now, is as she's growing, at what point do we make a reinvestment? Because the scary part of that is you're starting the curve over again. You're starting that where you're going to maybe have to go backwards a little bit to go up again. And so funding and finding money to continue growth is always going to be there. But now, in Jennifer's case, she's got 3 years of business under her belt, and she's got, her financials that any bank's can look at now, and she's not going to have any trouble at all being able to get additional funding, to invest in growth, because she's committed to, again, staying lean and allowing the money that the business is generating to go back into the business for growth, which builds financials, which builds a story, which will then actually have banks and other financing options really lining up to do business with you, rather than you trying to figure out someone to do business with you. Big difference.
I know. Isn't that crazy how it works? I think in the beginning, there's so much fear and so much pressure, especially around financials for me. And then you get to a place that you're comfortable. Like, we have some cash flow happening. I'm taking a little bit of money. I'm back to buying a new purse every once in a while, right? And then we get to that place again where, okay, now it's time to invest again. And you're like, no, I want to hold on to my money. I just got comfortable. So for sure, being an entrepreneur, it just goes back to always being able to be pushed out of your comfort zone. We see this cycle happening. So you master that, and you're good to go, but we're still going to be scared sometimes, right?
New purse. Wait a minute.
Jennifer, now you're supposed to fly under the radar with these things. I mean,
I have to give my ladies some hope. We went from Michael Kors to Target back to Michael Kors. I mean, there's hope out here, right?
Well, no. No, it could have went from Target to Marshalls or something
Yeah.
like that. We
Or
could have
Macy's.
stepped it back up. But I mean, I think that that comfortable word is very important, because that really is something that as entrepreneurs you have to be very careful with, is because you start your business, you have that dip, you've worked hard, it's been grueling, it's been hard, you're starting to feel growth, you're starting to see some cash flow. You know, you're looking at the car, you're looking at these things that you've been nursing along for a while, you know, thinking, boy, now's the time to, you know, get that new car or make this purchase. It's at that point you've got to step back, re-examine your why, and say, okay, am I at scale? Is this where I want to be with my business? Was this, you know, the size of business that I envisioned when I started? Because if it's not, then put air in the tires, get the oil change, give it a good wash job, but keep the car and invest it back in your business. Because again, if you're going to build something that's meaningful, you have to invest in that growth stage. You cannot allow lifestyle to start pulling money from your business, because again, you'll never get there, you know, when you're investing in lifestyle.
Good stuff. Well, I want to thank you both for taking the time out to do our podcast. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will talk to you all soon. Thanks. We want to thank you for listening today. Please subscribe so you never miss an episode. Leave us a positive review. And we want to say thank you to our sponsors, Dempsey, Weiss Associates and J.Faith Hair Studio.